Hey friends, welcome to this week's episode of Not Your Mommas podcast. I'm excited. Today we have Jeff Spitzer, the co-owner with his wife of H3H Training and Coaching. While his wife focuses mostly on the mental health awareness, Jeff helps busy moms and dads find a balanced, healthy lifestyle by overcome limiting beliefs and unhealthy habits that have sabotaged their previous efforts through his Healthy Lifestyle Mastery program. In his free time, Jeff is a volunteer state coordinator with his national nonprofit, Bravery Angels, working to bridge the political divide in the United States. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on. It's so exciting to talk to you.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Christina.
So, what are some common misconceptions that people have about achieving their weight loss goals, and how can they address them in your coaching program?
Yeah, let's jump right in because this is a good question. There are a lot of different areas I could go. There are a lot of different misconceptions, but I'm going to focus on two that I see most often. One being focusing on calories alone
Mhm.
versus actually getting the right amount of macronutrients. And those who aren't as versed in this language, macronutrients being, you know, carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And the other part aspect of that is not taking our individual differences. So just because your friend eats, 1,400 calories a day and they've got their macros dialed in, if you take those and apply them to your life, it doesn't mean you're going to have the same results because there's so many differences from person to person in terms of our metabolism, our health conditions, all these different things that impact how we hang on to calories and store in our body, that it
Mhm.
really does take an individualized approach. So that's the first thing. Did you want
No, I
sorry,
just
it
was
looks like I
thinking
cut you
like,
off.
what are your thoughts on like the blood type diet? You know what I mean? Like, is that like something that you would like help focus on for like individualized approaches and things like that?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of different approaches. So there's a lot of, say, a lot of people call them fad diets, but it's not really about diet. It's about finding an approach that's right for you. So whether
Hmm.
it be the blood type diet or eating a specific way or just finding, like really finding out what's going to work for you, a lot of people have to try a lot of different things before they find what really works for them. So I would say experiment with as many things as possible until you can find what works for you. However, I'll tell you that the biggest culprit that I see is the second thing I wanted to mention, which is an all or nothing mindset. So
Hmm.
people tend to, when they want to make a big change in their life, whatever it is, and especially with weight loss, we think that we have to change everything in our lives and be
Yeah.
perfect. So, for example, if we're not exercising and we're eating a lot of junk food, we think that we have to cut out all the junk food, eat only healthy foods, and go to the gym 5 to 7 days a week. And that is a recipe for failure because if you're going from the couch and junk food to 5 days a week and no junk food, you're going to last probably 3 days. Maybe you'll last a couple of weeks, but most people fall off that wagon really quickly. So, what I do is one, I help people sort of change their mindsets and
Hmm.
look at the world differently. And second important point is built into my program is baby steps. Everything is
Yeah.
going to be way more successful, whether you're trying to change your diet, whether you're trying to pick up a new habit, whether you're trying to learn a new skill. If you start with baby steps and just make small incremental changes one at a time, they'll build up on each other and you'll have a lot more success in the long term.
Yeah, I find it yeah, more achievable if you have like the big goal on top and then you have like those little baby steps, you know.
Yeah.
With me, like, and the way I'm starting, like in real estate, it's like, okay, you have to crawl before you can walk, before you can run. And that can apply in any area of your life, whether that's,
Hmm.
business, weight loss, achieving goals and things like that. So tell me, what are some things or practical strategies that you can help our listeners with to kind of overcome those mindset barriers that you're talking about?
I think the first thing for most people is just to become aware.
Hmm.
We go through life, we're just trying to get through the day for the most part, get through the day, get through the week, and we're not really aware of our thought patterns or our behaviors and how those things are influencing our goals and the
Hmm.
things that we want to achieve. Again, speaking in terms of a health context, because that's really what I'm focused on. It really, like, if like the point I made a minute ago, if you think you have to change everything, otherwise you're a failure, then that's sort of a fixed mindset. And until you move into more of a growth mindset and start asking yourself real serious questions, like, instead of I can't do this because, like,
Mm-hmm.
how can I do this?
Yeah.
Start really asking yourself, look for, open up possibilities for yourself. Start asking yourself, what would need to happen for me to accomplish this, and how do I do that? And in that, focusing on what's in your sphere of control, because we get so caught up in all these outside influences, be it, you know, friends who sort of
Totally.
drag us out for drinks or unhealthy foods, or whatever it is, unhealthy behaviors, that we just sort of get sucked into that, or people we live with in our house who bring in junk food all the time, or just, stress and life and work and kids and all these things that
Mm-hmm.
affect us. If we get caught up in the things that are outside of our control, we'll feel like we're going to fail all the time. But if we start to focus on the things that we can control, or at least we have some influence on, then we can start to implement those baby steps and make some real progress.
Yeah. And we have, like I said, we have to always remind ourselves like it's baby steps and
Baby
like
steps.
not to be hard on yourself and and give yourself grace if you do kind of have a hiccup too. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to like beat yourself up because like you
Yes.
had mentioned earlier, like everything kind of really is in moderation.
Yeah.
I think it's okay every once in a while, but you have to just make sure that your daily habits are structured, and like one little thing at a time. You can't go from the couch like to running marathons. Like it's just not going to happen. And I think another thing that's important too that people need to realize is like your energy levels, you know? And, I know that you're like a certified energy leadership practitioner. So
Yeah.
it's like, how can people like identify like their energy levels and like their shifts to support like their goals?
What you said a moment ago really plays into our energy. A lot of people, when we talk about energy, some people think we're talking physical energy.
Hmm.
And I'm really talking about what might be better considered emotional energy.
Yeah.
For that, not technically accurate, but that's how most people will relate to it. And what you just said a moment ago about, like, cutting ourselves some slack, forgiving ourselves when we make some mistakes, that is so huge in this process, because we tend to get caught up in this negative thought pattern, and, like,
Hmm.
oh, there I did, I failed again, I
Yeah.
could just never do things right, why do I even try? We get really stuck in that victim mindset,
Hmm.
and that can be very difficult to shift out of if we spend too much time there.
Hmm.
And so that's why I talked a moment about focusing what's within our control. And then what you said about, like, just giving ourselves a little bit of grace, because, like, okay, so say, somebody brought donuts in the house and you gave in and you ate, not one's fine, and
Hmm.
we'll get to that into terms of living in balance, which is really what I try and get clients to achieve, is sort of, you don't have to eat perfect all the time, but you just want to eat healthier foods more often than unhealthy. And so if you're at a birthday party, eat a piece of cake, for example.
Right?
But
That's what I say. I'm like, have
yeah,
some cake, and like it's
exactly.
okay. You don't have to eat the whole slice, but like it's
Yeah,
not
have some,
gonna harm you to have a piece of cake. Like enjoy
live a
that,
little.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
And now if you sort of go off the rails and eat
Yeah.
half of a cake, then it's easy to start beating yourself up, right?
Hmm.
And say, oh, I try, I've already screwed it up. I may as well quit this whole plan, or, I'll start again next Monday
Yeah.
or next month or whatever it is. And we get stuck in that, like, pushing it off. When in
Hmm.
reality, like, every moment is an opportunity to do something different. Every moment is an opportunity for change. So if you, like, say, look, okay, I did it, fine, let me move on. Reset right now, not Monday, not on the first of next month, not on the
Yeah.
first of next year,
Yeah.
right now. Reset, let's start over. So playing into the energy levels, what I talked a moment ago about becoming aware. So first thing, become aware of your emotions and how
Yeah.
they're
Your
influencing your
triggers.
behaviors. Yeah, and identifying those triggers. So for a lot of people, my program, my Healthy Lifestyle Mastery program, is 12 weeks. We spend about 3 weeks of those 12 on food and exercise,
Hmm.
because it is so much more than that. We have to get deal with all these other things in our life, and before we can like really start to make progress on, healthy eating and regular exercise, because it's stress at work, stress of kids, running kids around to different activities. There's, some might be behavioral problems, might be fighting with your spouse. There's all these different things that come into
Mm-hmm.
play that drag down our energy, get us stuck in a victim or even an anger mentality. And
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult to move forward if you're stuck in that place. So in my program, I start everybody off with what's called an ELI assessment,
Mm-hmm.
Energy Leadership Index assessment. And what it shows is these 7 levels of energy in our life, from victim up to like pure love
Yeah.
and enjoyment and abundance in life, like what percentage we have of those in our life, and what are the things in life that bring about either the victim or the anger mindset versus the love and abundance mindset. And so
Yeah.
we can start to see when we have these stressors in our life, these events that bring us down, and we start to recognize the patterns in there and say, okay, so I notice that when I have a really stressful day at work, I come home and I start binge eating.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional eating is a big thing for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go straight for the tub of ice cream or the cookies or whatever it is. Say, okay, so once you can make that connection, you can start to do something about it. So that's really where we start, is becoming aware. And then once you are aware, you are then in choice. Then you can start to make some conscious decisions about, okay, what's another outlet that I can give myself for this? Like, yeah, a tub of ice cream sounds really good, but it's counter to my goals right now. So can I go, I don't know, punch a pillow or take a walk or
Yeah.
whatever it is, finding a different outlet for that stress rather than resorting to emotional eating or whatever the thing is that we typically gravitate towards.
Yeah. Yeah. Awareness is totally key. And then trusting your intuition and knowing that like you're valued in whatever like thoughts or emotions that are going on. Well, Jeff, it
Absolutely.
is time for the Power Mom Chronicles part of this podcast, and I cannot wait to dive into your answers. And my first question to you is, what's a game-changing lesson life has taught you?
That's a really interesting question, because I think that I'm going to have an answer that a lot of people aren't going to like. And I want to preface it that way so that I understand this is an unpopular statement I'm about to make, but speaking, in terms of that victim mindset that we get caught in, we think that we don't have enough time for anything. There's not enough time in the day. And I'm
Mhm.
here to say that there is enough time in the day. We can accomplish more than we think we can if we prioritize. Like, we
Yes.
might not be able to accomplish everything we want to do, but if we start to prioritize, like, what are the most important things? And I'm going to argue that self-care, like, are all worth it. Whoever's listening right now, you are worth taking the time to take care of yourself. And self care could look different for different people, but it might be like as little as, 5 minute meditation or a short walk or reading or whatever it is, journaling, whatever it is for you. Find the time for the things that are most important. And there is enough time in the day if you start to prioritize.
Yeah. It's like, okay, maybe I don't have to put the clean clothes of laundry in the laundry basket away right now at the moment. Like, it's okay, they're clean. They'll
Hmm.
they'll be fine. Like,
And, and
like let's do the things that are important, and that's like, it's not like you don't care about it. It's just, like you said, prioritize your things throughout your week and stuff. So, I think
And
that
I'll
is a
just
good
add
reminder.
one more thing on top of that. For those who think that I don't have a spare minute to myself, let's test that. Let's pick up your smartphone and go and look at what your screen time is per day.
Oh yeah, no.
Guaranteed
It gives me like
you
an
can
alert. I'm like, are you
yeah,
kidding me? Like that much in a week? All right.
yeah. We can give back a lot of time by just becoming aware of how we're spending our time, and that's a great way to do it.
Yeah. And reflecting on your journey, besides having knowing about prioritizing, what's another practical lesson or insights can our listeners apply to improve their own lives?
I hate to sound like a broken record here, Christina, but baby steps. Like, and when I talk baby step, I'm talking like micro step. I'm talking start super small and increase over time. So let's say that somebody listening wants to exercise more and you're not exercising at all right now. Like I said before, don't tell yourself that you're going to go to the gym 5 days a week. Do one push up, do
Yeah.
one jumping jack. While you're brewing your coffee in the morning, do one, two,
Squat.
three squats. Yeah, exactly. Start somewhere. And you'll find that if you can start super small, that like if you can do one, you'll probably do two. And if you can do two, then you'll do three. Maybe not the first day, but over time, build that consistency, but super duper small steps and then increase over time.
And offer a piece of wisdom for moms or dads, anyone really, striving to find their strength and voice.
Learning to say no is going to be so vitally important to your self-care because we spread ourselves thin. And I know I don't advertise myself or my coaching to women, but women typically gravitate towards me for whatever reason. And moms, especially
Hmm.
moms and grandmas, women in their 30s all the way into their 60s.
Hmm.
And this is not unique to women, but I see it predominantly in my women clients where they are always in service. So whether in service of family, in service of the community, always putting others before themselves. And that is so admirable. But what happens if you're always giving and you're never receiving or taking time for yourself is that you get burnt out. And then you
Yeah.
fall into that victim mindset like, I don't have time for anything. I don't have time for anyone because they've said yes to so many things. So just learning to say no. So in terms of finding, it can be difficult to say no. Like just basically make a promise to yourself that I'm not going to say yes to anything else for the rest of this month or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just sort of make that sort of commitment and then it becomes easier to say no. It's like, nope, I'm busy. I can't do anything else. And if you can start to say no to things that you would have otherwise said yes to because somebody asked, you can start to find time for yourself, strengthen your voice and your self-care.
And one thing that I've learned is boundaries are going to hurt people's feelings sometimes. And you're going to have to be like okay with that. And it's not about you, it's about them. So it's
Absolutely.
important to realize, like, and that's sometimes the hard thing too of why people can't say no is because they can't, they don't have like limits to their boundaries,
Yes,
people pleasers and stuff. So, I mean, and
absolutely.
I'm a
Yeah.
victim of being that person too sometimes, like it's all, growing and
Yes.
learning. And then so my last question to you is the best advice you've ever received.
Boy, what you just touched on there is part of it, and I gravitated towards two different thoughts on this, and one being what we just said is it's not about you. Like
Hmm.
when you tell somebody no and they get offended or whatever, or somebody's rude to you and they have a bad day, it's not about you, it's about them. So don't take it personal. Don't let it bring you down. That's one of the things, but I think the best advice that I've ever received is actually not so much advice, but a quote by Henry Ford of all people, who a lot of people think was a real jerk. But one thing that he said is whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And I find that to be so true in life. So again, going back to that fixed versus growth mindset, if we
Hmm.
think we can't, we never will. If we think we can accomplish something, we'll find ways to accomplish it. So it all starts here within our mindset.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for coming on this week's episode of Not Your Mama's podcast. All of his links are down below in the show notes. Don't be shy, go say hi. And thanks for listening.